Okay. In Algebra 1, this is Chapter 13, Lesson 6, number 9C. And what we're working on here is the problem tells you, and let's flip over here and I'll just read it. Solve each of these following quadratic equations by completing the square. And the problem they give you is x squared plus 18x equals negative 81. Now that's not currently in the typical quadratic equation format, right? Normally you would want it to look like this and be set equal to 0. But we're gonna be cool with this, format right now, because part of completing the square is to move this 81 over like they've already done for us. So technically they've done step 1 for us, which is great. We will let them. Now, step 2 is to add b over 2 squared to both sides, and that is a property of completing the square. Feel free at this point to go back in your textbook and look at completing the square before continuing. But that's the second step in completing the square, is to add b over 2 squared. Now, what is that b term? Well, if you remember, you have your a, your b, and your c. So the b term is actually this 18 right there. So if b is 18, then b over 2 is 9. So we are actually adding 9 squared to both sides. Now let's go to a new page. We have x squared plus 18x equals negative 81, and we just figured out that we need to add 9 squared to both sides. And I'm going to leave it as 9 squared on the left-hand side and go ahead and write 81 on the right-hand side. And the reason I'm doing that is because it helps me out later in the problem. Now, you can tell that this cancels over here, so the whole thing is actually equal to 0. At this point, we can rewrite this side as x plus 9 squared. And you can check this to make sure that it's correct by, coming down and doing the whole x plus 9 times x plus 9 and working that out. I'll let you do the distributive property on your own at home. For now, just trust me, I did that calculation and it does work. So at this point, in order to find the solution, you take the square root of both sides, right? Because the solution would be solving for x, and to get x by itself, we first got to get rid of the squared, so we square root both sides. That leaves us x plus 9 over here, and the square root of 0 is just 0, so it's still 0 over there. Now, we subtract 9 from both sides, and we get x is equal to negative 9. There is only one solution to this quadratic equation, and that's completely fine. Remember that quadratic equations deal with parabolas, so wherever the parabola crosses the x-axis, that's the solution. So if it looks like this, for example, it only crosses the x-axis at one place. So that means the graph of this particular quadratic actually probably looks like this, where negative 9, is over here, and it only crosses at one place. So even though traditionally we get two solutions, we're okay with x equals negative 9 being our solution here, and that is in fact the answer to this problem.